Hey, I'm Tashi and welcome to my home. Today we're going to be making this adorable sun hat. Before we get started, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoy this tutorial, give it one of these. My goal is to post a new tutorial on the first Tuesday of every month. Tutorial Tuesday, don't you know? Love a good alliteration. And I post a new video every Saturday. If you don't have the skills yet to make your own crochet sun hat, then you can purchase it from my shop using the link in the description below. Let's get yarning.
I love yarn. I love yarn. I love yarn. I love yarn.
To get started, these are the tools that you're going to need. First of all, you're going to need some cotton yarn. It's important to use cotton because cotton is one of the yarns that will keep you nice and cool throughout the summer. So I'm using the Lily Sugar and Cream cotton yarn from Joann in the color Creamsicle. And whenever you get a cotton yarn, you just want to make sure that it's a size 4. So just look for the little yarn ball on the back, make sure it's a size 4 worsted weight yarn. You're also going to need a size 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. You can use a larger or a smaller size hook. Just keep in mind that if you use a larger size hook, your hat will end up larger. If you use a smaller size hook, your hat will end up smaller. You're also going to want a pair of scissors, a needle to weave in your ends, and then I also like to use a stitch marker when I'm making my hat, but this is completely optional and up to you. This pattern is going to use approximately 95 grams of cotton yarn. So if you buy these smaller skeins, you're probably going to need to attach a second skein at some point. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. When you get to the end of your first chain, you want to leave a little bit of a tail. And what we're going to do is we're going to start our next stitch. So whatever stitch you're doing, you can go ahead and get it started. And then when you're getting ready to pull your next color through the stitch of the previous round, that's when you want to bring in your next skein of yarn, and we're going to actually pull that yarn through and then finish with that new yarn. Then I like to just flip over to the back side and tie the two tails together in a knot to make it nice and tight. So I usually do a triple knot here. Just be careful not to pull so tight as to really cinch up this stitch. And then I like to just hold on to the tails and stitch over top of them as I continue crocheting my hat, just like this. So then it kind of will get hidden as you go. Of course, if you have another way that you like to attach your yarn, feel free to do so, but this is just the way that I like to do it with my crochet items. There are two ways that you can choose to start your hat. The first is by making a chain. So I'll show you that one first. The first thing that you want to do is you want to make a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, I just insert my 3 fingers and pull the yarn kind of around these 3 fingers like this. And then I give a twist and I grab the long portion of the yarn that's attached to the skein and just pull it through the center. And then you can slip your hook through and then pull it nice and tight up to it. Then we're going to chain 4. So you'll yarn over, pull through for chain, yarn over, pull through, that's 2, yarn over, pull through, that's 3, yarn over, pull through, that's 4. Now what you're going to do is you're going to turn this into a circle. The way that you're going to do that is you're going to take your hook and insert it into the first stitch that you made. So that's going to be all the way back here. So just insert it, and then you're going to pull through, pull up a loop, and then pull through. So you're just going to make a slip stitch there. Okay, now what's going to happen is this is going to make a very teeny tiny circle. So if you kind of expand your yarn here, you'll be able to see this circle right here. So this is going to be the circle that you're going to want to be working your next stitches into. So this is the basic start. I don't like doing it this way because it doesn't give you a lot of control over that opening, and I find that opening kind of hard to see. So the way that I like to start is with a magic ring. To make a magic ring, you're going to hold your yarn like you normally would and then make an X over the back of your hand. So that'll give you 2 parallel lines on the front of your hand. You're going to go under the first piece of yarn with your hook, and you're going to grab the second piece of yarn, pull it underneath the first, give it a little twist. Now, I like to take my yarn off my hands, but you want to make sure that you maintain the form that it's in, because right now it's in a circle and it's got 2 strands of yarn overlapping each other. So the way I do that is I just pinch right here at the top of my hook, and I pinch all of the strands of yarn, and then I just pull my fingers out. Okay, so then you're left with this loop. In order to fasten this loop, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make a slip knot. So while I'm holding on to the hook and to the strands, I grab my long tail that's connected to my skein, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to yarn over, and then I switch the yarn to my other hand so that I can pull through and just make a chain to secure that in place. Just like that. Now you want to keep this in a circle. Be very careful. You don't want to pull this tiny tail that you have hanging off here, because what that'll do is if you start pulling the tail, it's going to start pulling the circle closed, which is why this is called a magic circle. So I would keep it about this size while we work through the first round of our pattern. So now that we've got a start, we're ready for round 1. For round 1, you're going to chain 3. Chain 1, 2, and actually our first stitch counted as our first chain. So that was 1, 2, and then 3. And then we're going to make 12 double crochets into our magic ring. In order to do that, you're going to yarn over, stick your hook through the center of the magic ring, pull up a loop, and then you'll finish off your double crochet like normal. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to do that 11 more times. So yarn over, stick your hook through the loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so just keep going with your double crochets until you have a total of 12. Now the thing to keep in mind with this pattern as well is that every time we chain 3, we are going to be completely ignoring the chain 3. So in a lot of patterns, the chain 3 will count as a double crochet, but in this pattern, it does not. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like once we get our 12 double crochets done here. All right, this is my last double crochet of my round. Now, if you did the simple start, you should have just worked all of those double crochets into that tiny circle that you made. Now that we're done, if you're a magic ringer like myself, then what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna close your magic ring. So just hold your stitches tight, pull on that tail, and close that loop up. Now, I often find that my yarn tends to get caught, especially when I'm working with cotton yarn. So I really like to turn it over and make sure I'm actually pulling the yarn all the way through. And sometimes you'll feel it like pop into place, and that's how you know you really got it all the way through. So you shouldn't have any opening on the top of your hat. Now, this is where I said we're going to ignore that chain 3. So what we're actually going to do next is we are going to slip stitch into the first double crochet. So a lot of patterns will have you slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, but we're not doing that because we're ignoring it. We're not treating it like a stitch. So we're actually going to go into this stitch right here. So basically the first really formed V that you see. So not this tiny weird V at the top of the chain 3, but the first fully formed V of the first double crochet. And we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then just pull through for a slip stitch. And that is the end of round 1. So once you get done with round 1, if you want to count, you should have 12 stitches all the way around. And you can count this by just looking at the little V's and counting all of your V's. You should have a total of 12. Round 2 is going to be our first increase round. And this pattern alternates double crochet and single crochet every other row. So this next round is going to be a single crochet round. So to start, we're going to chain 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to insert 2 single crochets into every stitch. So again, it's really important that you make sure you count to make sure you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stitches. And that way you'll also know which stitch to start in, because sometimes it's kind of hard to see. This looks like it should be your first stitch, but really it's going to be this one right here. If you mess up and you start crocheting into that stitch and you end the round a little bit early, it's not a big deal. We can slip stitch it closed, but just kind of keep that in mind. So we're going to insert 2 single crochets into every stitch. So we're going to insert our hook into the V of that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2. So that was 1. We're going to insert our hook into that same stitch and do the same thing again. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And this is where I like to use my stitch marker. So I just did 2 single crochets. So I'm going to count back 2 stitches, 1, 2. Right there is my first single crochet. I'm just going to place my stitch marker into that first single crochet stitch so that I know where the end of my round is. As you're going, you might want to count. So just keep going into the next one, 1 and 2. And we should end the round with 24 total stitches for round 2. Okay, this is my last single crochet of the round. I did make sure to count that I have 24. It's going to be really important that you keep track of your stitches at the beginning, because if you get off by 1, it's going to kind of screw everything else up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to want to slip stitch into that first single crochet that our stitch marker is placed in. So I'm going to take the stitch marker out, and then I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch and just do a slip stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull it through the loop already on my hook, just like that. And that is the end of round 2. For round 3, we're going to be going back to doing double crochets. So in order to start round 3, you're going to start by chaining 3. So we'll chain 1, 2, and 3. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be doing alternating pattern of double crochet, increase, double crochet, increase. So a double crochet increase is basically like what we just did on the previous round. We were doing single crochet increases, but with double crochets. So we're going to put 1 double crochet into our first stitch. So it's the stitch right next to the stitch that our chain 3 is coming out of. So remember, double crochet, yarn over, put your hook through the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now in our next stitch, we're going to be placing 2 double crochets. That's going to be our increase. So yarn over, put it into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now on this double crochet, go into the exact same stitch you just went into, and that is our double crochet increase. So you'll basically be doing that pattern around the entire round. So you'll have 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets. And I almost forgot to place my stitch marker, so I'm going to do that before I get too far along here. So that was my first double crochet. That's where I'm going to slip stitch at the end of the round. So we're going to keep going all the way around for this round, and by the time you get to the end of the round, you should have a total of 36 stitches if you counted correctly. And now I got a mess in my yarn tangle. Struggle is real. Okay, so this is where it's really important to count. So I'm at the end of round 3 and I am out of stitches. I am going to have to put an increase into the same stitch that my chain 3 is coming out of. So just make sure you're counting as you go, because you don't want to miss any of your stitches on these first couple of rounds. So I'm going to do my double crochet increase, and then again, remember, we're ignoring all of our chain 3s, so it doesn't even count as a stitch, because what's going to happen is we're going to slip stitch right over the top of that chain 3, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of our first double crochet stitch. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker and then insert my hook into that double crochet, do a slip stitch to join. And the reason that we're doing this, guys, is because if we were to slip stitch into, well, I can just show you here. If we were to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, like a lot of people have you do in different patterns, I'll show you what happens. What's gonna happen is when our hat stretches out, we're gonna end up getting these gaps in our hat. So in order to avoid those gaps, that's why we have those chain 3s that we just kind of ignore. We tuck them to the back, and then what happens is now when our hat stretches, the gap isn't gonna be quite as noticeable. Okay, so that was the end of round 3, our double crochet round. So now again, we're going to a single crochet round. And the single crochet round is going to be 2 single crochets and then a single crochet increase. So we're going to start by chaining 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet into the next stitch. And I'm going to remember to insert my stitch marker this time before I get too far. And then we're going to do another single crochet into the following stitch. And then we're going to do a single crochet increase. So we're going to put 2 single crochets into the next stitch. And you're going to continue this pattern all the way around. So you'll do 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then a single crochet increase. So you're increasing every 3rd stitch. By the end of this round, you should have a total of 48 stitches. So I'm gonna keep going here and I will meet you at the end. So I am on my last single crochet increase. So I'm going to insert my hook and do my increase here. That's 47, and this is going to be 48. And then again, we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first single crochet that our stitch marker's in. So we'll take the stitch marker off, insert our hook, and do a slip stitch. And that is the end of round 4. Now we're going to move on to round 5. So round 5 again is going to be a double crochet round. So we're going to start with chain 3. So we'll chain 1, 2, 3. Now for this round, we're going to do 3 double crochets and then a double crochet increase. So we will start by double crocheting into that first stitch, doing a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to do an increase. So we're going to do 2 double crochets into the 4th stitch from the chain. And I forgot to put my stitch marker in, so I'm going to do that right now before I get too far, putting it into the first double crochet of the round. So that's going to be your pattern all the way around. You will increase every 4th stitch, otherwise you're just doing double crochets for the rest. So double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and then a double crochet increase. By the end of this round, you should have a total of 60 stitches. I'm gonna keep going and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I messed up just a little bit on this round and I wanna show you how you can kind of fix your mistakes if you mess up like I did. So what happened was way back here, I got distracted when I was talking to you guys. There are a couple sections where I did only 2 double crochets before I increased, and then I did it again right there, 2 double crochets, and then I increased. So what happened is I got a little bit off on this round. Now, something like that is not going to impact the outcome of your hat at all. As long as your stitch count all the way around is what it's supposed to be, then you're going to be just fine. So I'm currently at 58 stitches and I just ended on an increase and I only have 1 more open stitch to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to do a double crochet into each of these stitches. So I am going to put one into the stitch with the chain just to kind of fix my mistake. I could also just do 2 double crochets into this stitch, but honestly, it really doesn't matter. Like, you are not going to notice when the hat is done. As long as your stitch count on every round is correct, it doesn't really matter where your increases end up as long as they're not all like clustered together. Okay, so once we end the round, you know the drill by this point. We're going to slip stitch into that first double crochet to end the round, and now we are ready to start our last increase round before we start working our way down the side of the hat. So this is going to be the last round for the top of the hat, and after this round we're going to want to take measurements to make sure that it's going to fit us. So this is going to be a single crochet round again. So again, we're going to chain 1 to start our single crochet round. Now this round is exactly like the previous round where we are increasing basically every 4th stitch. But in order for the increases not to line up right on top of each other, I like to start this round with an increase and then do 3 single crochets. So I'm going to start in my first stitch with a single crochet increase. So I'm going to single crochet 1, and then into the same stitch I'm going to do another single crochet. I'm going to put in my stitch marker before I get too far along so I remember where the start of my round is, and then into the next 3 stitches I'm just doing 1 single crochet. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and then I'm going to do another single crochet increase. So I'm going to add 2 single crochets into the same stitch, and then again just 3 single crochets before I do another increase. And that is the pattern all the way around for round 6. By the end you should have 75 total stitches. I am going to finish my round off and then I will meet you guys at the end. All right, I am on my last 3 stitches. Now you'll know if you ever got off count on a round because your row won't end perfectly at the end. Since I ended perfectly, I know that I'm on track. I don't think I'm gonna count because I'm pretty confident. I counted on the last row because I messed up. So again, you know the drill. Take the stitch marker out, slip stitch into that first single crochet. And my friends, that is the top of the hat right there. That's what it should look like. If you're making a size medium, you should measure 5.5 inches diameter. I have different sizes in my written pattern, which you can find in the link down below. So feel free to check that out and buy that and support me. Much love. Okay, now we get to the fun part. This is where we're really going to start forming our hat. So we're getting to the first round for the side of the hat. So round 7, we're going to start bringing our hat down. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to be doing a back loop only double crochet. Since it's a double crochet round, we're going to start it like we typically do with a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, the back loop only double crochet, if you take a look at your V's, okay, you're going to notice that there's the front part of the V that's facing you and then the back part of the V that's facing away from you. The back part is what we call the back loop. So when we do a back loop, we're actually inserting our hook down into the center of that V and out the back. So we're only crocheting into that back loop. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us a slight turn down so that this does become the side of our hat. So we're doing double crochets into the back loop. So the way to do that, we yarn over. Then on the next stitch, we're going to insert our hook down the center of that V and out the back, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we finish off our double crochet like normal. So again, yarn over into the center of that V, out the back, okay, pull up a loop, and then yarn over. And you're gonna notice that these loops might start to pull pretty hard and it might start to look a little bit funky on this round. Don't worry, I promise it's not gonna look like that at the end. It's actually gonna end up looking super, super cute. So just keep going. Okay, for the next, I would say the next 5 rounds, your hat's gonna start to look more like a yarmulke, okay? But I promise, persistence, and it will pay off. So just keep going all the way around, 1 double crochet into the back loop of every stitch in this row. Oh, and what did I forget to do? Stitch marker. Oh my goodness, silly me. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna finish out this round and I will meet you back at the end. Okay, so I've come to the end. Now, in order to keep our row count for this row at 75, we do want to make sure that we do a stitch into that same stitch that we have our chain 3 in as well. So I'm just going to add one there because remember, we're kind of ignoring that as a stitch. So I'm going to take my stitch marker off and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet And if you count, we should still have 75 stitches all the way around. Now we're going to start actually working down the side of our brim. This next round is super easy because all we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet into every stitch. That's it, all the way around. So start by chaining 1 and then just start your single crochet journey. So just single crochet into every stitch all the way around. Don't forget about your stitch marker if you're using it before you get too far. And again, it shouldn't change the count of the stitches at all, so you should still have 75 by the time you get to the end. So I will meet you guys back at the end of this round. Okay, so here I am on my very last stitch of that round 8, and then again, you know the drill, we're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet of the round. Okay, this is where it starts to get really fun and exciting because we are about to do the star stitch, which is officially one of my favorite crochet stitches. I absolutely love it. It's so much fun to do, and it may seem complicated at first, but I'm going to walk you through it, and I promise it's not as hard as it looks. So a star stitch, we're actually going to start off the same as we do with a double crochet round. So we're going to chain 3. Now a star stitch, essentially what it is you're pulling up 5 loops in order to make kind of the star shape. So I'll show you here. So this is going to be the shape that we're kind of trying to make. Now it's made with 2 separate rounds. So we're doing basically the first part of the star with this round that we are about to embark on. So in order to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to pull up 5 loops. We're first going to stick our hook through the center of that second chain from our hook, and we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull up a loop. Okay, now we're going to do that again with the first chain that we made. So we're going to stick our hook through the first chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you want to make sure that your tension isn't super tight when you're doing this star stitch, otherwise this is going to be very difficult to do. Then we're going to go to the bottom stitch and we're going to stick our hook through the stitch that our chain is coming out of, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we're going to do the same thing into the next 2 stitches. So we're going to stick our hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop. So now we should have 5 loops on our hook, and then we need 6. So we're going to stick our hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop. So you should have 6 total loops on your hook. Once you get the 6 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 6 loops, just like that. And then in order to secure this, you're going to yarn over and pull through. So you're doing a little slip stitch, just like that. Okay, so that's how we do the first star stitch. Then I like to place my stitch marker in the top V of that first star stitch, just like that. Now, for the second star stitch and for all the rest of the round, it's slightly different, obviously, because we don't have a chain, but we're still basically pulling up 5 loops so that we have a total of 6 loops on our hook, including this first one. The first place that you're going to go is you're going to go through this eye, what I call it the eye of the star, okay? You see it? Right there, the eye of the star. You're going to pull up your first loop into that eye. Then we're actually going to be going right through the bottom of this star stitch. So you can see there's kind of like a little V happening right here. Just kind of jam your hook through that and pull a loop up through the middle of that V. Doesn't have to be perfect, literally just stick it in there and pull it out. Then again, we're going into the base of that stitch. So right at the bottom of the end of that star stitch, we're going to stick our hook through, pull up our 4th loop, and then we're back to going into the next 2 stitches to pull up our final 2 loops. Then again, double check, you should have 6 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 6, yarn over, pull through for a slip stitch. And then you'll see we have the exact same pattern again. So again, I'll walk you through this one more time. You're going to stick your hook through that eye right at the top of the star stitch, pull up a loop. Then we're sticking it through the V at the base of the star stitch, pull up a loop. Then we're sticking it through the bottom where our star stitch is attached to our previous round, pull up a loop, and then through the next 2 stitches, pull up a loop, pull up a loop, check that you have 6 loops, yarn over, pull through all 6, yarn over, slip stitch. Okay, so you'll see that this starts to form kind of the bottom half of a star. So you're just going to continue that pattern all the way around. I'm going to meet you about right here because there's something special that we do with our last star stitch of the round, and I want to make sure I show that to you. So continue doing this star stitch pattern all the way around, and I will meet you back at the end. You should have a total of 38 star stitches by the end of this round. Okay, I'm getting to the end of this round now, and I wanted to just show you, if your hat is kind of curling up like this, just make sure that you flip it so that the right side is facing out and then the wrong side is on the inside like this. And if this tail is getting in your way, feel free to weave it in a little bit early. And with your last star stitch, this is where it's gonna get a little bit tricky because you'll notice you only have 1 extra stitch here. So what you're gonna do is you're going to do everything normal up until you run out of stitches. So pulled up 2, pulled up 3, pulled up 4. Now to get the last loop on your hook for this round, what you're gonna do is you're actually gonna insert your hook into the second chain of that first chain 3 that you did. So it doesn't have to be perfect, just get it in there, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 6 of your loops, close it like normal. What that's going to do is it's going to prevent us from having a giant gap on the side of our hat. So if you just did it like normal, you would have a big old hole right there. Okay, then you know the drill. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that first star stitch that we did. And that, my friends, is the end of round 9. Now round 10 is going to get a little funky because round 10 is where we actually have to finish the second half of our stars. So in order to finish the second half of our stars, we're going to do half double crochets in reverse. So instead of continuing to go around this way clockwise like we have been, we're actually going to flip our work and we're going to go in the opposite direction. So you should have the wrong side of your work facing you. But before you do that, go ahead and just chain 1, then flip your work, turn it towards you, and this is where we're going to start our half double crochets. Now the half double crochets, all you do is you yarn over and then you stick your loop through, pull up a loop, and then you pull through all 3. This is very important. The first place that you insert your hook for your first half double crochet should be the eye of that first, well, technically it was the last star stitch that we just did. So you want to insert it right into the center, that little eye there. So insert it into the eye, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. And don't forget your stitch marker. And then you're going to continue that all the way around, and you're going to alternate between the eye and the top of the star stitch. So we just did the eye there. Now we're going into the top of the star stitch, and you can kind of see there's like a little V right here. You're just going to go right into that V. Okay, there's also like a little V on top. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. Then your next half double crochet should be in the eye of that star stitch. And sometimes the eyes can get really tight, especially if you have a tighter tension. Okay, so just kind of jam it in there. And then again, we're back to the top of the star stitch. So you're just going to go half double crochets into each eye and the top of each of these star stitches. And what that's gonna do is it's going to start to finish out the bottom of our stars. So if I flip this back over, you can see that those half double crochets finish out the little starburst so that they look nice and complete. Isn't that so cute? So keep doing these reverse half double crochets all the way around your hat, and I will meet you at the end of this round. All right, we are at the end of our round. Per usual, we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first half double crochet. And that is the end of our reverse half double crochet row. Now chain 1, and then we're going to flip it back to the right side. And then we are actually going to repeat round 8, 9, 10, 2 more times. So this next round is going to be single crochets, then you'll do your star stitch, and your reverse half double crochet to finish out your star stitch, and we're doing that twice. By the end, you will have 3 rows of the star stitches, each separated by a single crochet row. And it's gonna be so cute. So I don't think I'm gonna walk you guys through this, because you can just rewind the video and rewatch rounds 8 through 10 if you need help with these next rounds. I will meet you guys at the end of round 16, which should be a half double crochet round. Okay, so you should now have just finished your last round of half double crochet and slip stitched into the first stitch of the round. So now we are on round 17. Round 17 is actually going to be another round of single crochets. So we're going to chain 1, then we're going to turn so that we're facing the outside of the work, going in the normal direction, and we are just going to do a single crochet into every stitch. This is going to be our last round before we start the brim of the hat. Again, almost forgot my stitch marker here. Keep doing that. Let's just single crochet all the way around this brim, and we'll meet at the end and talk about our next step. Here we are back at the beginning of round 17. So we are just going to slip stitch into that first single crochet. And now is the exciting part, because we're going to start the brim of our hat. Now to start the brim of our hat, we are going to be doing double crochets, but we're also going to be doing what's called a front post double crochet. So I'm going to show you how to do it, but first we're going to start by just chaining 3 like we do with our double crochet rounds. Okay, now front post. Post refers to these pieces of the stitch right here. It's called the post of the stitch because it's like what's holding up, like quote unquote, holding up the stitch, right? So when we do a front post stitch, we go into the space between these 2 stitches, okay? We go around the back of the post and out the other side. That's called a front post double crochet because the post is in front of our hook. So to do a front post double crochet, you're going to yarn over. So we're going to go through this space right here next to that post. We're going to bring our hook around the back and out through that opening on the other side of the post. So you should have this post right in front of your hook. Then we're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull our yarn behind that post and out the other side. See how I did that? Then we're going to finish it off like normal for a double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Oops, there we go. And then I'm gonna insert my stitch marker before I forget again, like I do. Now we're going to be doing the same thing on the next post over. So again, yarn over, go through this space behind and out the other side, yarn over, pull all the way through and out, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you're just going to be doing these front posts all the way around. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to pull your brim outwards a little bit. So this is how we're going to get kind of that flare out for our brim, is from this front post double crochet. So I am going to finish doing my front post double crochets all the way around, and I will meet you back at the beginning. All right, here we are back at the beginning of our round. As always, we will slip stitch into the first stitch of the round. Just like that. Gorgeous. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to start increasing to get the kind of wavy look in our sun hat. So for round 19, we are on single crochets. And what we're going to do for single crochets is, as always, we're going to chain 1. And we're basically going to be repeating the pattern that we did at the very beginning back here all the way in round 5. We're going to be doing 3 single crochets and then a single crochet increase. So into the next 3 stitches, you're just going to place 1 single crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3. and then we will do an increase. So 2 single crochets will be placed into this stitch, and we'll continue that pattern all the way around. Now, a quick note. If you don't want your hat to be as wavy and you want it to be more like a bucket hat, instead of increasing every 4th stitch, you can kind of expand it and double it and increase every 8th stitch. That'll give you much less of a wavy brim and kind of more of a bucket style brim. So it's totally up to you what you want to do. This hat is totally customizable to whatever you want it to be. So feel free to kind of play around with how many increases you do. So I will meet you at the end of this round and we'll talk about how we're going to finish out this hat. All right, I am just about to the end of this round. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is if you guys got off on your count anywhere, at this point, it's really not a big deal. The count really only matters when you're doing these star stitches. Everything after that, as long as you continue to follow the pattern until you run out of stitches, it's not the end of the world because it's really not going to impact the final outcome of your product. But if you want to know, you should have had 75 stitches all the way until this single crochet increase round, and then you should end with 93 stitches. But again, if you got off on your count, it's totally not a big deal. Okay, so at the end of the round, as always, we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the round. Now, this next one, we're doing double crochets, so we will do our chain 3, and we are literally just going to double crochet into every single stitch. Just 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of this round and we'll talk about what comes next. All right, end of this round. So we will slip stitch the same way we always do. Now, for this next round, it's gonna be another round of single crochets. So start with a chain 1. And we're basically going to be repeating the 2 rounds that we just did. So we're going to be doing increases with our single crochet, and then we'll just be doing double crochets into every stitch on the next round. Now with this round, so that your increases don't end up in the same spot, I actually like to start with an increase on this round. So I usually start with the single crochet increase, put my stitch marker back in, and then 3 single crochets to the next 3 stitches. 2, 3, and then just repeat that pattern. So increase, and then 1, 2, 3. So repeat that all the way around, and then slip stitch to join, chain 3, and then you're gonna do just double crochets all the way around in the next row. I'm gonna meet you at the end of that row for our final round. All right, here we are at the end of round 22, and we are arriving at the very last round of our hat, which is super exciting. So for the last round of the hat, it's going to be another repeat of your single crochet rounds. So you're going to chain 1, and then you are just going to do 3 single crochets and then a single crochet increase, and that's it. So 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. You'll continue that all the way around, and then you'll slip stitch into the first stitch and fasten off, and your hat will be done. All right, once you get to the end and you do your final slip stitch, add another slip stitch to fasten off, cut your yarn, leaving a tail, pull it out, and then just tighten it up. Then all that's left to do is weave in your ends. So grab a needle, and then we're just going to weave it in. Now, I like to make this last one look kind of like a stitch so that it blends in a little better. So I kind of go underneath the next stitch and then back through. It's not like perfect, but it'll blend it in a little bit. And then I like to just take it down and into the hat a ways for a few stitches. And then don't forget to do the same thing with this inner piece as well, and then there you have it. You have made your very own sun hat. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. Definitely make sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. If you would like to purchase the written pattern for this design, which also includes sizes small, large, and extra large, you can do that using the link to my shop in the description below. I'll see you next time for another Tutorial Tuesday.